Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, and welcome to A Couple of Flicks. I'm Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
And today's episode, we are going to give our top 5 individual favorite martial arts films. So, do either of you want to go first, or should I just go ahead?
It doesn't matter to me.
You can lead us all.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Okay, so my number 5 choice is Bloodsport, which is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. And I know that he's not necessarily that easy to take seriously nowadays, but in the 90s, he was kind of the man when it came to sort of cheesy, cheap kind of action movies. Like, there was a time when he was really popular, and Bloodsport kind of came out, I'd say, like maybe a couple years before he really kind of blew up. And Bloodsport is basically this movie that was allegedly based on a true person named Frank Dukes, and it's pretty much just about him sort of fleeing the CIA in order to participate in a deadly martial arts tournament. And it's sort of like almost like a Mortal Kombat kind of thing, where it's like people sort of fighting and getting in these various matches. And I forget exactly how many different kinds of martial arts styles there are in it, but it's very, like, throughout the course of the sort of tournament, various people end up dying in the midst of these fights. And it's kind of, what do you call it? It's sort of like a sort of prototypical type of movie for the type of movie it is, but the fight scenes in it are really cool. There's a excellent sort of final battle between Van Damme and Bolo Yeung, which is considered pretty infamous by this point, I think. And yeah, I've watched this movie many, many times. The first time I saw it, I remember I rented it with a friend, and it was this particular friend who was really into like martial arts movies. And actually it was the same friend that I mentioned on another episode, who I saw that cheesy like kangaroo martial arts movie, Warriors of Virtue, with. Yeah. And I remember after we'd seen that movie, he was like obsessed with it, and he wouldn't stop talking about it. He had like trading cards and all this other that had to do with like the promotional material for Warriors of Virtue, and he just went on and on and on about it for like 2 hours. And then I remember, like, I think, I forget how old I was, but I remember like at some point I was like, well, it was good, but it wasn't that good. Like, I remember that was the first time I think I had sort of like a semi disagreement with somebody about a movie, you know. But anyway, I remember, so we rented Bloodsport. And then we rented Bloodsport, and we rented like some other stupid movie. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but we watched Bloodsport, and then we were going to watch this other movie that we rented, but instead we just decided to rewatch Bloodsport. So Bloodsport is the first time I saw it, I watched it twice in a row. Yeah, I loved it so much. And it's definitely cheesy, you know, especially when you watch it today. And there's like this one particular character he's my favorite character. He's the American competitor from Texas, who basically all he does is he just slam kicks pretty much everybody to death. And that's sort of his big move, you know. But he's great. It's hilarious. And at one point in the film, like, he sort of, well, I don't want to spoil it too well. I mean, I guess it's not really the type of movie you can spoil, but because you already know how it's going to end. But eventually, like, he and Van Damme sort of pair up. They kind of become like sort of friendly throughout the course of the tournament, which, you know, early on when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, what if they have to face each other, you know? But luckily it doesn't get that far, because the guy from Texas ends up getting whooped, yeah. And incapacitated, actually. He gets hospitalized. And it's great. Like just the chemistry between him and Van Damme is hilarious. And at one point he's like, "I love you, man," and it's just like this beautiful moment, of friendship. These two men holding hands and being comfortable. Being friendly and being cool. So, Bloodsport, I love it.
Nice. Was there sequels to that one, or am I thinking of Kickboxer?
Well, there were definitely sequels to Kickboxer.
Yeah.
I don't remember if there was a sequel to Bloodsport. I don't think there was.
I'm thinking of Kickboxer then. Never mind.
Yeah. The Kickboxer movies are well, actually they're kind of stupid, but but the thing is though, like when Kickboxer came out, it had been a few years since Bloodsport. People were kind of clamoring for Van Damme to be in another ring fighting movie, and Kickboxer was kind of, it's like, sort of the way of the studio sort of throwing us a bone, throwing us Van Damme fans, it's at least giving us something. Kickboxer, it's a really, really dumb movie, but it's enjoyable if you're really like if you really want to see another Van Damme movie where he's ring fighting. But to me, like, it doesn't get any better than Bloodsport. So.
I'd have to agree.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you want to go next, or do you want to? Okay.
So my movies, I just would almost all be the same. I don't know, but I decided for the podcast to split them up. But you'll see a running theme. My fifth pick is Rush Hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the classic Jackie Chan, American made. Kind of, I don't know if it didn't really put him on the map, but it was like one of the first ones I was aware of that was American made Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah.
And it's classic. Love it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Buddy cop movie with Chris Tucker. They had great chemistry and everything.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I remember enjoying that one. The first one, at least. I don't really remember the sequels, but I did like the first one. The first one, that was the one where there was like the kidnapping plot, and like there's that girl who's like singing that Mariah Carey song, and then she gets snatched from her car after her two bodyguards get gatted. And it's like, uh-oh. And then Chris Tucker like gets sort of pulled into the situation, and everybody's like, oh, just keep Jackie Chan busy while while the real guys got to deal with this stuff. And it's like, you already know what's gonna happen, but it's like, whatever. I think Elizabeth Shue shows up in there at some point as well, and Chris Tucker's like, oh, sorry for telling everybody that we slept together, and she gets all pissed off. She's like, what? And Jackie Chan it's like, no, don't worry, he's just kidding. And he like puts his hands on her boobs to try to like prevent her from going after him, and they cut that part out on TV for some reason. Like they cut it off. They cut the scene right after she like goes, what, and just cuts away. It's really awkward cut. Like, yeah. But
Jackie Chan style.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a talented motherfucker.
Yeah, I do remember there was some pretty cool stuff. Like I remember particularly at the end when he's like flying down the curtain. And,
Oh yeah, fucking takes balls to do what he does.
yeah.
Real quick, Nick, you sound kind of low. Your volume.
Oh, okay.
Give it a shot. Sure.
Yeah, and one I liked also the whatchamacallit, just like it was a good comedy too. Like
Yeah.
like one of my favorite lines that always stuck with me is like when Jackie Chan was trying to explain something, he's like, "Don't you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?" And like Chris Tucker responds with, "Man, nobody understands the words that come out of your mouth."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the king and you're nothing. I'm Michael Jackson and you're Tito.
Man, I gotta rewatch those.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
I definitely remember the first one. I think the first one I saw several times. The second and third one, I think I only watched them like once, but the first one I do remember enjoying quite a bit. And like I remember the villain, like wasn't there like that was the villain where he like shoots him and then he like throws him a napkin and he's like, wipe yourself up, man, you're dead. Yeah. Rush Hour.
Yeah, and I like also with Jackie Chan movies the credits always end with the bloopers and shit.
Yeah, and the outtakes.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ones was in Rush Hour 2. It was like the end scene where like they kill the guy by kicking him off this fucking building and he lands on a car and Chris Tucker's like, oh, he ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
I do remember that. Wasn't there also a scene in the second movie where they're like at a casino and then like Chris Tucker like gets into like an argument with like the dealer or something?
Yeah. Do we sound any better now, or is it just?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Ong Bak.
I love Tony Jaa.
Yeah. I honestly can't really remember the plots, but I remember the fight scenes.
Yeah, it's like something about him like trying to retrieve like a statue or something. It's like this one guy just beating the crap out of everybody just for a statue, which is hilarious. Yeah.
I just remember that's the first Tony Jaa movie I saw, and it was like the next level of martial arts movies, if that makes sense. Like the fighting style, his fighting style.
Yeah. It's like super high wire. Like whenever I never see any wires or anything like that, but man, that guy can fly. Like,
yeah.
And I just remember, I mean, I love the visuals in it. I love the way like his muscles look at the end. I love like the scenes like early on where he's like somersaulting off of the elephants and I've watched the first 2 Ong Bak movies a few times. The second one's really stupid, like really stupid. But I kind of enjoy like how ridiculous some of the sequences in that are, just because they're just so ridiculous and insane that it's like.
Yeah.
But the first one is excellent. So.
I can't remember if it's Ong Bak or The Protector, where there's the scene in like a nightclub or something. He's just like throwing chairs or throwing people through tables and shit. It was great.
Well, there were some really extensive sequences in really both Ong Bak and The Protector, but particularly in The Protector. I remember like some of the scenes in that, like some of the fight scenes were really long and like pretty complicated. Like, there's at least, I think there was one scene where I had to kind of rewind it because it was just so quick and bizarre and complicated. But no, Tony Jaa is fantastic though. Ong Bak is a must see for pretty much anybody who loves martial arts movies. That was something that I was thinking about putting on my top 5. So
yeah, and it's a shame that his first American movie was a Fast and Furious movie.
I know, yeah. It's kind of a disappointment. It's like, damn. That's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of these actors that are like really incredible martial artists, like they come to America and then the people who put them in these movies, they don't know how to use them. Like I know that like when Jet Li was in the first Expendables movie, like I was just disappointed because it's not that hard really to film a scene with Jet Li. All you have to do is just put the camera on him and he basically just does everything else. But with the Expendables, they had to like edit these scenes really fast and like you could barely even like see his moves, and it was like, darn it, man. Like, so, but yeah, no, still Ong Bak, you can't really like, nothing can take away from Ong Bak, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I was gonna put that on my list, but instead I went with something a little bit more eccentric. My number 4 pick is District B13. Have either of you seen that one?
Yeah, actually just picked up the double pack of that in the Ultimatum, I think the second one's called.
Yeah, District.
District B13 Ultimatum.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I didn't really like the sequel that much. Well, I mean, I liked it. But it wasn't really, in my opinion, as good as the first. The first is just insane. There's a lot of martial arts, but there's also a lot of gunplay, and there's a lot of other stuff, and it's just like, yeah, again, the plot is ridiculous, but the action really makes up for. I mean, nobody watches these movies for the plot anyway, and for a movie like that with just these really complicated, crazy scenes and all this other stuff, there's just so much satisfaction I get out of watching that. And I think there was like, because it's like these two gentlemen who are dealing with like this sort of bomb situation. One of them is like a crook, and then the other one is sort of a police enforcer, and the crook's sister gets kidnapped, and so it's all about like trying to rescue his sister, which I like that, because it's not a love interest, it's like a family member, so it's like, wow. And I think it's like a French film, I want to say.
Yeah.
French martial arts. Yeah. I don't want to say any more about it. Just watch it. Yeah, I guarantee. Yeah, you'll thank me.
And then there's the American remake, Brick Mansions.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Was
But-
it? What was it?
It's with Paul Walker. And actually, the main character in District B13 is like the sidekick in Brick Mansions.
Okay.
I never saw it, but I just know it's a thing.
Okay.
Nice.
Maybe. Yeah. I didn't see it either. I know. I definitely. I have the title written down somewhere. I don't. I think I know what it is, but I
I
just.
definitely heard of it. Yeah, I knew it was
Yeah.
a Paul Walker movie.
Yeah.
I think one of his last too.
After Paul Walker died, I pretty much like, yeah, I sort of was reading about all of his work, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna check that stuff out eventually when I feel like it, I guess. But I don't know. It's kind of sad how he died, so I just, yeah,
Yeah. R.I.P.
yeah.
Okay, I guess my number 4, I'm gonna go with Old Boy.
I love Old Boy.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, no, that.
The Korean one, of course.
Oh yeah, no, please. Oh, yes. Oh God. Yeah, the
Just
Spike Lee.
Ignore the
What-
other one.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's better to just pretend that doesn't exist. I agree. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But Old Boy's incredible, and yeah, the hallway fight scene is like one of the best things I've ever
I
seen.
made the list for that scene alone. It was
Yeah.
just so good.
Yeah, most of the rest of the action in it is very, very quick, but that sequence is a masterpiece. Like,
Yeah.
and to me, like when it comes to like great sequences in martial arts movies, that's definitely like a heavy achievement.
Yeah, definitely like one long shot. I
Yeah.
love those. And you can see he's like getting tired, like realistically, and just fucking pounding dudes with any little force he has left.
Yeah, the way like when he like hits that one guy in particular, like I think it was like the first sort of hammer toss, just the
Oh, yeah.
the crunch that his head made was just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good little revenge flick too.
It is very poetic. The ending is just so tragic,
Yeah.
you know, like you really just, it's one of those movies that introduces a lot of really heavy sort of moral conflicts, but does it very artfully, you know. It's a prime example of a film that perfectly encompasses the themes of Catholic guilt. Yeah. And I don't want to say any more for people who haven't seen it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right. My number 4 is the 36th Chamber of Shaolin.
I was actually that was another one that was going to be in, that I was thinking about putting in my top 5. Yeah, so when did you see that one?
I actually just saw it this year.
Oh, yeah.
After watching the Wu-Tang Hulu show.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of references in Wu-Tang stuff to this movie.
Mm.
And I never saw it, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch it. And it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a terrific film. I've never seen anything quite like that, actually. There's something about the atmosphere and the style of it that is just so captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never really got into like the older like 70s martial arts movies either.
Yeah.
So I was really surprised by that one.
They can be a little tricky to get into sometimes, like particularly Chinese martial arts films. Like I well, I have more that I want to say about that, but I'm not going to talk about that quite yet. So
All right.
okay, so this one, all right, so this one is on everybody's list, I think. Like, just most people I know, when they talk about martial arts movies, like this one inevitably comes up. But I I have to say, I really, really love this movie. You know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is my number third. I think as far as like, I mean, when I saw it, I was already into martial arts movies, but that was kind of the first one that I saw that I remember feeling like this one in particular was like really artistic and had like something a little bit deeper to say about like human emotions and sort of like the boundaries of tradition. And at its core, it's a really tragic sort of like Romeo and Juliet love story almost, you know, but just there's just something like truly graceful about just the overall presentation, and the action sequences they're interesting because they're not really visceral, but like they don't really need to be. I feel like just the sort of oddness of them and just the way they're choreographed, it's very sort of ballet like, and I just feel like it adds it adds a lot to just the overall mystical quality. I can't say enough about that movie that I love. So
that was like one of the first movies I was excited for to come out and watch. I remember like I saw like, you know, the trailer for it or whatever, and I was like, oh, that looks sweet.
Yeah.
I saw it opening day, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
One of the first movies I was ever excited to come out.
Yeah. I think I saw it like, I don't think I saw it opening day, but I did see it in theaters. I do remember that.
Me too. I'm not sure who's opening day, but
yeah. And that might have been the first subtitled movie I saw in the theater.
Probably me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 100% for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because that came out in like 1999, I want to say, or 2000, around that time. I know it came out like I know it came out around The Matrix because I remember or around the time of The Matrix because I remember the advertisements were like, oh, this is like The Matrix or something like that, but it really wasn't like that at all. It was like, okay, they're just trying to get more people to see it. So, but yeah, that's my number 3.
Okay. So my number 3 is Police Story.
Yeah.
This is probably, you'll notice the running theme of my list.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan.
Excellent.
Like my whole list would have been Jackie Chan movies, but it would have been boring. But I put this one at number 3. Like, it's again one of those ones I don't really remember the plot except for, you know, Jackie Chan's a police officer trying to stop the bad guys.
Yeah.
And that's basically most of his movies over there in his earlier movies, kind of.
Yeah. The plot's not really important anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean,
it's all about the comedic set pieces and the high wire sort of, just particularly in the climax, just the kind of shit that's going on there and the level of ambition that Chan has in his
dedication.
sort of it's
like I even want to say like one of these was like one of the police stories was made not for America, but was just a different Jackie Chan movie they titled Police Story for Americans or something like that.
Yeah, there's technically 4 of them. One of them's my number 3 actually.
Oh. Excellent. Well, I think it was the third Police Story was retitled Super
Cop.
Yeah. That was it, yeah. And is that your number 3, by the way? Or?
It's not. It's number 4. Okay. Jackie Chan's First Strike.
Excellent. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. No. Okay. I remember the thing is like all of those movies, they kind of blur together because I think I saw them all sort of in the same sort of span of time. Yeah. And then I also saw New Police Story, aka Super Cop 2, which Jackie Chan only had a cameo in it. and actually he cross-dressed in his cameo, which was kind of interesting. You know? But that was more about like the Michelle Yeoh character getting involved in this with this like sleazy boyfriend and all that. But I don't remember that one as well as the others. But yeah, I've seen all those movies. I love them. But anyway, so yeah, you were gonna say your choice was
Yeah, my number 3 is Jackie Chan's First Strike.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember that being like, that's probably what got me into martial arts movies. So I'd never seen someone like fight with all the props and stuff that he did in that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
So good.
Especially the scene with the ladder, where he's fighting with the ladder.
Yeah,
That was
that's
so
the part I
awesome.
remember. Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah,
Actually-
everyone remembers, yeah.
Yeah.
Ladder fights.
Yeah. I actually watched Police Story earlier this week because I couldn't remember if it was Police Story I was thinking of or First Strike.
Yeah, I didn't look up what I was thinking of too with mine with the
Yeah.
this scene where he falls down all those stories of like glass and lights and shit and gets pretty damaged like,
Yeah.
in real life.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
like
That was
his,
a police story.
Yeah.
it's like his worst injury or something like that.
Yeah,
one of them.
It was up there. Yeah. I think he got injured really like I think he almost died during the making of Armor of God, I think.
Yeah, he like broke his
And-
back or something, I think.
Yeah.
But he just like got like a shit ton of burns and got really like broke a rib or something.
Yeah. And then there was one, I think it was Rumble in the Bronx where he broke his leg. But yeah, I can't even keep track of how many times he's gotten injured.
He's dedicated.
He is. So, so my number 2, and it's gonna seem weird because this is in my top 5 favorite films of all time list, and I still consider it in my top 5 favorite films of all time. But as far as martial arts movies go, I would put this at number 2, and it's Enter the Dragon. Probably the most important martial arts movie to me, just because like, I mean, Bruce Lee is somebody that I really admire as a person and as and like I wouldn't really necessarily say that his movies are like good exactly. I mean, I love all of his movies, well, except for maybe Game of Death. And that was kind of a piece of garbage. Although the fight scenes in it were incredible, but you know, you got to wait pretty much a whole like hour to get to them, you know, and up until that point you have like horrible stuff like where it's like intercut of like stock footage of Bruce Lee like in interviews and in previous films being superimposed in shots, and then like doubles being used like with people that almost look like Bruce Lee but just don't quite have the right head size and all that stuff, you know. But regarding his other films though, you know, like The Big Boss, which was sort of the one that was like that was kind of the film that sort of introduced him, I guess, as a martial arts star. You know, that one was great because like the first half of the movie he isn't even the main character, and you know, he kind of has the cliche martial arts backstory where he's this gentleman who used to be a violent person but has chosen to take a vow of non-conflict a vow of peace and not getting involved in conflict, but inevitably he gets pulled into conflict anyway, kind of like how his son Brandon Lee did in that you know, that Legacy of Rage movie that we talked about last week, you know. So Big Boss kind of has a similar plot to that, you know. But Big Boss, I'd say, is actually worth watching if you want to sort of get like introduce yourself to Bruce Lee and what his overall sort of style is, because it really does do a good job of sort of introducing like the fact that he's like a force to be reckoned with. Because the first half of the movie, you're following the James Tien character, who at the time Tien was actually getting some he was getting some buzz, you know, as an actor and as a star, but he ends up not being the main character. The film ends up pulling a bait and switch, and suddenly Bruce Lee emerges and he just whoops everybody like so effortlessly. And then he just proceeds to do that throughout the rest of his films. He just doesn't even really have a whole lot of trouble duking it out with these guys, which I suppose for some people sort of can kill the suspense. But for me, I love seeing it. I love seeing him just take everybody out like they're nothing, you know. But for me, Enter the Dragon it's really like it's him at his best. It's him. It perfectly encompasses everything that he does perfectly, or everything he does well, I should say. You know, in order to sort of avoid overusing the word perfect. And also, it's just a great like old school sort of grindhouse style exploitation picture. You know, you got Jim Kay and John Saxon both in the same movie, which, you know, John Saxon unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago. But yeah, I rewatched Enter the Dragon recently, and just that the final fight that he has, which is in this giant mirror room. It's just an incredible scene, because not only is it well done and suspenseful and it looks incredible, but it also sort of perfectly represents what Bruce Lee's overall philosophy was, which is about like how the greatest foe that one can have is oneself. And so when he enters this room full of mirrors and he's surrounded by these mirror images of himself, it's almost like he has to sort of conquer himself as an obstacle in order to actually get to this one guy who is actually proving to be something of a formidable foe, mainly because he's constantly fleeing him, you know, but that's how it goes sometimes. So yeah, I love Enter the Dragon. I think it's a movie that means a lot to me as a person, and it's a movie that means a lot to me like as a film goer. But as far as martial arts movies go, it's not what I would consider the best martial arts movie. But maybe it is the most important, at least in my opinion. So.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. So this is number 2 we're doing then?
Yeah.
Okay. My number 2 pick is John Wick.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, a little off the, not necessarily a martial arts movie, but has a shit ton of martial arts in it. So, I mean,
you know, there's people who consider movies like The Killer and Hard Boiled and, you know, Bullet to the Brain and Hard Target and, you know, basically anything John Woo does. There's a lot of people who consider all those films to be martial arts movies. So I don't see why John Wick wouldn't be. It's a Guntana or whatever it is. Right. You know, Equilibrium is considered a martial arts movie, and that's all gunplay. So yeah, John Wick counts, I'd say.
Yeah, because he does also do a lot of fist fighting as well. So
yeah.
I love just how brutal it is too, and
it's deliciously brutal.
The gunplay too is on point. Like, you see like those videos of Keanu training at the training whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Gun ranges and shit. So he knows how to hold a gun realistically, and like I just love how he's just like popping them, one shot, not missing a thing, and
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful work of art.
And I just love how everyone's like, "Oh shit!" Like they know they fucked with the wrong guy the whole movie, and they're just scared of what they've done.
Yeah, I also love the very kind of slight gallows humor it has too, about like the fact that he like at one point he's like shooting all these people up, and then he's pinning this one guy down, and he has to like stop and reload, and then he just continues. He like shoots him and continues. I love stuff like that. Some moments actually make me laugh. Like it's great. Yeah.
I love how it's a revenge movie. Of course, it's what martial arts usually are, of him and because his dog got killed.
Yeah.
So good.
I love that. It's the perfect reason to just massacre everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd say so.
Yeah. And, you know, I love the sequels too, even though they get stupider or more and more stupid. Like, I
haven't seen 3 yet.
Yeah.
But it's on Netflix, I think, now. So I want to see it.
It's
I
more.
liked number 2 as well.
Oh, yeah, me too. The third one, I mean, it's all more of the same, but I'm not going to complain about watching Keanu Reeves blast everybody away. You know?
Yeah.
Supposedly more coming as well. So
yeah.
I wouldn't mind it being a franchise.
Yeah. He can do everything.
Yeah.
Apparently 4 and 5 got okayed.
So, yeah,
and a series maybe. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Oh right, yeah, I heard about that as well.
Oh, man, you better start training. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of gun smoke he's gonna be inhaling.
Yeah.
Well, my number 2 is we'll just do Kill Bill 1 and 2, I guess.
Perfect.
Nice, yeah.
Because
perfect.
I always watch them back to back.
Me too.
Might as well have both of them there.
Yeah.
It's basically one long film, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should be,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was released in Japan as the whole bloody affair.
Yeah. I think that should have happened here too. You know, I don't know why, I don't know when that's going to happen, but like
Yeah,
I
I don't know
really-
because it's a Miramax film.
oh yeah.
So
Things have gotten pretty complicated with Miramax these days with the whole Weinstein issue and all that. So
yeah.
yeah, and I know that that's kind of been a tough situation for a lot of people, Tarantino and like a lot of folks that have been involved in Miramax. You know,
Kevin Smith.
yeah, it's been tough. You know.
Yep.
So, but the Kill Bill movies are great. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love 'em.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with some Tarantino.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And I like the fact that it's like that Uma Thurman and Lucy Liu, like it's interesting to see them duke it out because Lucy Liu is actually pretty scary in that movie. Like I think I kind of consider her to be like, I mean, Tarantino, of course, has always written some pretty crazy villains and like Christoph Waltz and like Inglourious Bastards and all these other like characters. You know, but I kind of consider Lucy Liu to be probably like the scariest and most interesting character, like most interesting villain he's ever written for sure. Like in some ways, I actually kind of had more sympathy for Lucy Liu's character than I did for the bride. In some ways, like obviously, like I mean, don't get me wrong, like I wanted to see like Uma Thurman take her revenge and stuff, but the fact that Lucy Liu gets this intense backstory where you really like sympathize for her and you kind of see how she becomes this sort of evil overlord figure. It's cool to see a villain going on like a truly like human journey and you know seeing that whole, even though it kind of gets summarized in like a quick like 10-minute anime sequence, like
Yeah.
but that was the best way to do it. I mean, yeah, it doesn't get any better than that as far as like being like a stylish martial arts saga, you know. Yeah, the Kill Bill movies are great.
Right.
Also, as a side note regarding the whole like Bruce Lee depiction of in Once Upon a Time in America,
Oh, yeah.
Tarantino, because I know there's
Hollywood,
yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I know that there's been some controversy about that, but personally, like the way he depicted Bruce Lee in that movie didn't really bother me because like Bruce Lee was known for being kind of an arrogant type of person, and I actually like I don't think that's actually a bad thing. Like he kind of had to be that way in order to sort of gain any sort of success
Yeah.
because he was not dealt the best deck as a person. You know, he grew up in poverty and he got bullied and picked on for his size and his height and his sort of weight, because he was not like a heavy guy. He was only like 120 pounds or something like that. And so like, so he had to actually kind of be a little bit of an asshole, you know, just to get stuff done. You know, he had to kind of take charge of every situation that he was in and sort of maybe sometimes excessively overt his dominance over people. But I don't think that takes away from his legacy. I don't think it takes
Yeah, I
away
don't-
from him as a person.
I
you
didn't
know,
see
so-
what the fuss was either.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was just, I think people in like these days, there's sort of a need for people to be outraged about things. And to me, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like, and you guys are welcome to disagree, but I'd like personally, I found it to be like a mostly pretty harmless movie as far as like being offensive
Yeah.
content or whatever. Like I'd say actually, as far as Tarantino's films go, it's probably his cleanest like picture.
Yeah.
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 And so I think that was just a case of people really, really wanting to be offended by something, but not really knowing like,
Yeah. I mean, they should have looked at it as a parody. Like
Yeah.
he's already
Yeah.
altering history in other ways. Like
yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Totally. And it was just like one quick scene too. It wasn't like
Yeah.
he was the main bad guy throughout
Yeah.
the whole movie. Just
Yeah.
one little fight.
Yeah. Well, and also like it's not even like they were saying anything negative about Bruce Lee as a person anyway, because like later on in the movie, there's the scene where Sharon Tate goes to the theater to see one of her movies, which I actually appreciated the fact that they showed the footage from the actual Sharon Tate movie rather than taking the movie and replacing Sharon Tate with Margot Robbie, because I feel like, considering how Sharon Tate passed away and how tragic that was, it would have been kind of disrespectful to replace the actor with Margot Robbie. So I'm glad they actually kept Sharon Tate's character. But when she's seeing the movie in the theater and she's watching the martial arts scene that she's in and kind of enjoying that, and then there's sort of that brief flashback, which nobody seems to even remember, where she's being trained by Bruce Lee. Like, I just loved that. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very brief, but it does happen. Like when she's watching and she's just kind of having a memory, because she's all euphoric, because she's like, it's like this moment where she's watching herself on screen and just really like enjoying it, and I just, I thought that was a really, like, I don't know, that was like a feel good movie, you know. It was like the Tarantino equivalent of a feel good movie, you know? So
Yeah.
it was, yeah. And I got to say, especially the ending made me feel good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good ending. Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, so my number one, so I kind of have to sort of give a little bit of like a pre sort of thing for this. I love a lot of like martial arts movies from Hong Kong, but I'm not generally a fan of most of them, though. I tend to find a lot of like Chinese, Hong Kong martial arts movies to be a little bit more on the dull side, you know, personally. A lot of the ones I've seen tend to sort of take their time, but don't usually have a reason for taking their time, you know. But meanwhile, Japanese martial arts movies, you know, like samurai movies in particular, you know, like, I mean, of course, there's like classic ones like The Seven Samurai, and then there's more recent ones like 13 Assassins and stuff like that. I'm actually a bigger fan of Japanese martial arts movies. But when it comes to Japanese martial arts movies and martial arts movies in general, in my opinion, and this is a bit of a cheat because this is actually like a series of films, but to me, it doesn't get any better than the Lone Wolf and Cub series. That's my number one pick. It's pretty much about this gentleman who was executioner for the head shogun, and there's some sort of discrepancy or dispute, and something happens that the head honcho doesn't really agree with, so he orders his men to kill him, and they end up taking out his wife, but the lone wolf character is a formidable enough foe that he's able to take them all out, you know. But now he's got this son who no longer has a mother. And so he offers to, like, he gives the son, like, he offers, he basically, he puts two objects down. He's like, this is, you know, a picture of your mother, and you can join her if you want, which means that I could chop your head off, this little baby, or you can, he like puts his weapon down on the other side, and he's like, or you can, you know, take the weapon and sort of stick with me while I go take revenge, you know, for these people for killing my wife. And this little baby ends up choosing the sword. So as a result, now he has to take revenge while taking care of his son. So he wanders across the country carting his son in a baby carriage. And the baby carriage is a makeshift baby carriage. You know, it's all tricked out, loaded with weapons, you know, knives, swords, bazookas, machine guns, all that stuff. And it's just one epic movie after another. They're all pretty bite-sized. They're all roughly around 80, 85 minutes long, you know. Okay. And all of them are just superb and satisfying and perfect in every way. They're cheesy as hell, don't get me wrong, but they're perfect. And they do kind of, like, of course there are like some parts in them that might go a little over the top for some people. Like I remember that in one of them in particular, there's this villainess who, her way of like taking people out is like by flashing them, and so that they're distracted, and then chopping their heads off. Nice. Which is just like, wow, that's so. But if you want like really like gnarly, and they're gory as hell. They're like some of the goriest movies I've ever seen in my life. But if you want some really like old school, like 70s grindhouse style pictures, like those are as good as they get. I've watched them several times. I think they'd be fun to do for the show at some point. Doesn't have to be right away, but they're pretty great. And I choose those as my favorite martial arts films of all time. It's the Lone Wolf and Cub series. So, and furthermore, if you don't feel like watching the entire series, there is a movie that is like a sort of a condensed, sort of re-edited, English dubbed, which I know not everybody's into, version that it condenses the first two films and they retitle it Shogun Assassin. And that exists. You can kind of, I'm sure if you look for that, you could find it. But that exists if it's like the kind of thing where you don't really want to sit through 6 movies. So,
Yeah, I've heard of those.
yeah.
Been wanting to see them for a while. And then,
Brilliant.
I know Bob's Burgers does a whole episode kind of referencing that series.
Oh,
shit.
really?
I love
It's
Bob's
interesting.
Burgers.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
I don't think I've watched Bob's Burgers a couple times, but I never really I don't know. I just never had time to get into it really. But that's cool though that like there was references to them in that, like,
Yeah, that's obscure too.
yeah.
Yeah. At least I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. They're definitely worth watching. So
Nice. Okay.
Mm.
I have to check them out.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. My number one is, of course, Jackie Chan in The Drunken Master.
I love the Drunken Master movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favorite martial arts film probably because, I don't know, I just love The Drunken Master. It's his fighting style.
Yeah.
'Cause it is like a fighting style. It's
It is,
like
yeah.
a real one, I guess, apparently. Like, and like, because I've played like fighting games with Drunken Master fighters, and they've had the same moves he's pulling off in those and shit, and like, and he played another drunken fighter in some other more recent like time travel type movie.
Yeah.
Like the Forbidden Kingdom or something like that.
I think-
Forbidden.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Palace.
Forbidden Kingdom, yeah.
Yeah. That one wasn't as good, but yeah, of course, because it was like American-made cheesiness. But
Yeah.
The Drunken Master's like a classic old Jackie Chan doing his crazy stunts and but being a drunken fight brawler.
Yeah.
He was just alone for that fight style and everything. I just love it.
I love both the Drunken Master movies.
Yeah, the second one's really good too.
yeah.
I just
Second one's probably my favorite. I think
I
that's
think it might be better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just haven't seen them
yeah.
both in a while. So
Yeah.
just
The first one's freaking incredible though.
yeah.
The second one's got that great fire pit sequence at the end though, which is just like
rolling around
yeah.
in the fire pit. And I was like, shit,
That
dude,
might be the-
Jackie, go!
that might be the best work Jackie Chan's ever done as far as like fight scenes and
Yeah.
just and it's hilarious.
yeah. And you can act drunk. He just never drank or something. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure too. He said
Yeah.
it's a real good actor, drunk,
Yeah.
drunken actor.
Did you ever see those movies?
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forbidden Kingdom, like I liked Forbidden Kingdom, but like I would definitely agree that it's like not as good as like most of what Jackie Chan tends to do. But
Yeah.
I still liked what Jet Li contributed though to Forbidden, and I like the fact that both of them were in it too.
Yep.
And I remember seeing that in the theater, and I remember particularly finding the scene where Jackie Chan, or no, when Jet Li pisses on Jackie Chan's head. I thought that was pretty funny. For some reason, that's the part I remember the most. But.
Yeah. Some good shit. Drunken fighter going toe to toe with Jet Li.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So my number one is again the first and second movie, The Raid Redemption and The Raid 2.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those movies are perfect.
Yeah.
Again, like
Just so fast paced and brutal. Just
Oh, man.
nonstop.
Yeah.
I
I've
saw.
only seen the first one.
I saw the first one in the theater. Apparently, the first one didn't really do very well financially, which I'm shocked by because, like, when I saw it in the theater, it was a packed theater, and I don't think I've ever seen people cheering that loudly at watching people getting killed. Like, it's incredible. Some of the scenes in that actually did kind of like make me a little nauseous,
Yeah,
which
like
doesn't happen very much with martial arts movies. But, ooh,
yeah, the guy gets the door, like the door frame, smashes his head through the wood spike or whatever.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Goddamn.
I'm not sure which one I like more, the first or the second. The second one's pretty insane.
yeah,
Oh my god. But the first one, there's something about the intimacy of the first one though. Like the fact that it all takes place in one sort of location and like I mean the second one the second one's pretty incredible though. Like
yeah,
it's hard to decide. They're both so good in their own ways. Like
yeah. I was blown away the first time I saw the first one because
Yeah.
it was Avery showed it to me actually when I was living with him in Florida.
yeah.
He's like, I got this pirated movie. You want to check it out? I'm like, sure, I guess, man. And then I was like, oh shit, this is awesome.
Nice. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to watch them again. I've watched the first one a few times and I love it, especially that last sequence, like when they're in that sort of chamber and they're trying to take down that one guy with the ponytail and like it's two of them and this guy's just constantly trying to break both of their necks, and at one point he's got them both in a chokehold and they're like, and they both get messed up, mangled like really, really badly, and covered in bruises and swells, and like, and one guy's like missing like 5 of his teeth, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end they managed to almost like oof. I was exhausted by the end of that one.
Yep.
Yeah. But then I saw the second one and I realized like, holy crap, they were just getting started. Like, whew.
Yep.
Yeah. Like that whole like no, actually never mind. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, definitely check that one out.
Yeah, you should.
I'll have to then.
Yeah.
I like the first one, so.
Yeah. Well, anybody got any honorable mentions? One I will say is Fist of Legend with Jet Li, which is actually a remake of a Bruce Lee movie called Fist of Fury, also known as The Chinese Connection. And it's a good remake. I like that one.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah.
Yep, Kung Fu Hustle's good. Yeah, that was really funny. And Shaolin Soccer as well.
Yeah.
I like one that it's probably a really bad movie though. Dead or Alive. It's the video game adaptation.
Yeah, that
It's funny, but it has some good fights in it and shit.
yeah.
I love the Dead or Alive series. And,
DOA.
yeah, it has a drunken fighter as one of the characters. So
Yeah,
it's not in the movie, I don't think. And there's a volleyball scene as well from the Extreme Games.
Yeah.
So they had to throw that in there.
Squeeze
of
that
course.
in. I do remember the torpedo kick, the one that the main girl does. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't actually remember that movie very well though for some reason. I mean,
I have it.
yeah. I remember the fight scenes. I definitely I always remember the fight scenes, even like in like the really bad martial arts movies. I always remember the fight scenes, but for some reason I don't remember the rest of the movie that one. I liked Fearless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got Ip Man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a
Ip Man.
classic one. I
One and
was
one and
thinking of
two.
putting that on there, but I
Yeah.
figured someone might.
Yeah, no, both of those are excellent. Was there a third one? I don't even remember.
There's a third and fourth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only.
and a prequel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw any of that. I only saw the first two. It's several Zetaji, however they're the blind swordsman. I have a few of those on this list.
Oh, yeah.
Yojimbo, I really like. Actually, Sanjuro was good too.
One recently that I saw, I talked about with the Guns Akimbo.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Guntana.
Guntana movies
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
Let's see. Once Upon a Time in China, 1, 2, and 3. I mean, those get
Yeah.
really stupid at times, but I definitely love the fight scenes. And also, while I'm on the subject of Jet Li, and even though I do like fully admit it's an awful movie, I still really personally love Black Mask. Like mainly because it's just I just love looking at Jet Li. Like that's just what it comes down to. Like, it's hard to disappoint me if Jet Li is in it. You
Even
know?
Cradle to the Grave.
Oh, I don't think I saw that one.
That's the one with DMX.
Oh gosh. Wow. I did see Romeo Must Die.
Yeah.
With Aaliyah. R.I.P. And actually, I remember like, I remember my mom. I think she taped Romeo Must Die, but there's like some scene in it where one of the strippers like shows one of her breasts, and it's like a 2-second scene. And for some reason, like my mom recorded over that scene, like even though like there was like a lot of scenes where people were like getting their bones broken and like getting their faces messed up, and like, there's like that one part where the guy like falls on the barbed wire or whatever. But for some reason, like the one like brief nipple, like my mom like had to like record over, which I just thought was really silly.
And gotta go also with Shanghai Noon night series.
I absolutely
yeah.
love Shanghai
Those
Noon.
ones are great. Almost put it with where Rush Hour was.
Yeah.
Rush Hour is more classic. I don't know which one would be more classic, but I went with Rush Hour. But I do love the Shanghai films.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I've seen Shanghai Noon more times than I've seen Rush Hour.
Yeah.
So I think I'm partial to Shanghai Noon only because I'm more familiar with it. But having said that, I haven't seen Rush Hour in a while, so I don't remember Shanghai Nights. I do remember the fight scenes, but I don't remember much else. But
Same.
Shanghai Noon was great.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I put Three Ninjas on this list, even though like it's like childhood classic, just I rented that one several times.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, there was the one that had Hulk Hogan in it. Was it High Noon and Mega Mountain?
Yeah.
And then I guess to kind of conclude, well, actually, wait a minute. Oh, Lady Snowblood, I liked a lot too. I've seen that one a couple times.
I just bought that actually. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh yeah, that one's good. I actually really like that one. I don't remember if there was a sequel.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, I never saw the sequel. I only saw the first
That's
one.
the inspiration for Kill Bill.
Yeah, well, it's good. I could see the inspiration for sure. And then I guess also to sort of wrap it all up, I think The Matrix, even though maybe one wouldn't necessarily count it as a martial arts movie, it's definitely like it was definitely an important sort of movie to me and to like a lot of other people I know.
I mean, he knows kung fu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kung fu.
I know kung fu.
I know kung fu. Yeah. And technically, I'd say that counts as a Guntata picture too,
Yeah,
because there's that whole lobby bank sequence where they're doing
so
the flipperoonies and the spinneroonies and
any movie ever.
the diveroonies.
Yeah.
And also like dodge this, boom. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
love that.
Classic.
Yeah. Carrie Ann Moss doing the and then you got the scene where Lawrence Fishburne is in the chains, because Hugo Weaving, he ties him up to the chair. He's like, I hate this place, because he's like a virus talking about how much he hates the human race. I love it. And so Lawrence Fishburne, he's like chained up and he's like, I can't break these chains, and he's like he has to use his force to escape the clutches of evil, and he does it, jumps on the helicopter. I just love that movie,
So it's one of the best.
Yeah. I actually didn't mind the sequels. I know a lot of people hate them. They've grown on me. I admit the first time I watched them, I was like, ugh. But as time goes on, I actually do find them more interesting. I mean, obviously they're not as good as the first one, but
I like the second one.
Yeah.
If the CG was a little better, it'd definitely be better.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the thing. The second movie had, I don't know, some of the artistic choices in the second movie still don't make sense. Like they're on Zion, right? Which is supposed to be like this liberated kind of like, oh, the humans are free place. But then they have like that weird dance slash
Oh, yeah.
quasi orgy.
Rave orgy, yeah.
Yeah, and like, it was weird because it was almost like everybody was moving like machinery, which is strange because it was supposed to be like the freedom of the human race, and yet they were all kind of robotic and machine. It was almost like some kind of like weird like beer commercial or something, which, you know. But then that kind of sparked sort of like the theory about how like maybe Zion is part of the Matrix, and then you kind of go into that wormhole, and then it's like, uh-oh, like, whoa. And then the third movie starts to make more sense when you look at it that way, but then it's like, uh-oh. But then if Zion's part of the Matrix, then what is reality? Like, what does reality even mean necessarily to these people, you know? And then the Animatrix sort of touches on those sort of existential issues, but that gets so heady though. Like, I can't even like quite absorb that yet. So I'm gonna take my time. You know, of course, I'm gonna have to actually sit down and watch them all soon anyway, because now they're making another one. So
4, yeah.
Yeah.
That should be good. Hopefully, maybe.
I'm
We'll
gonna
see.
I'm gonna put my trust in the Wachowski sisters and, you know, hope that they come up with something unique.
Do it justice.
Yeah. I think it'll work. I am hesitant. I am a little nervous, but I'm gonna decide to trust them.
Yeah,
So,
same here.
yeah.
They could do it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anything else or anything you guys want to mention? Or are you good?
Could keep going, but
Yeah. Yeah, we should probably stop. All right. Well, yeah. If you like martial arts movies, you know, any of these sound interesting, go for it. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I guess it's time to say goodbye. So have a good night, everybody. And yeah.
Yeah. Catch you in the next episode.
Yeah.
yeah.
Catch you on the flip flop.